Hey everybody, this is the Post Movie Podcast. I'm Steve Head.
I'm John Black.
And I should say that we are recording this episode sitting on a bench in Boston Common on a pathway with things going by. Now, we were just talking about people going by. Now we've got a car.
It's a truck.
A truck. And another truck coming.
It's ambiance.
So this is my...
Steve's worst nightmare.
It's my worst sound nightmare. You know, we find this bench and I'm thinking, okay, maybe it'll be quiet, and then that's not going to happen. That's just not going to happen. But so anyway, apologies for screaming people, talking people,
and another truck,
indiscriminately loud people, and another truck that's going to be passing us by right now. It's
like a parade on the footpath. There were no trucks here when we sat down, but now suddenly there's trucks galore.
Talking about trucks and cars.
Yeah.
On the subject of trucks and cars, on this week's episode, we're going to talk about Transformers: Dark Side of the Moon, or complain about, or do something in the negative rant vein, and then we're also going to talk about a good film, actually. Larry Crown, the new Tom Hanks written, directed, starring flick, starring Julia Roberts.
So let's get the bad over with. Transformers: Dark Side of the Moon.
Good Lord. You know, where does one begin?
Well, I'll tell you, the funny thing to me was that critics were giving this negative reviews before we even saw it. They just knew it was Michael Bay, and the first two movies were pretty bad, and now he's got a third one, and he's already been all over the internet saying, you know, how great it is, and it's a buzz on, the sycophants are out there saying, oh, Michael Bay, you're wonderful. But that was before anyone saw the movie, I swear. And then you see it, and you're like, oh my God, there's 2.5 hours of my life I am never getting back. Never. Gone. Wasted watching this cacophony of sound and images.
Have you ever felt like you've been hit over the head by a movie?
Oh yeah.
I mean, like thunked by a piece of steel across the cranium. This is Transformers, man. It's a CGI mess. Now, I want to say yes, the animation, incredible talent up there on screen, beautiful, but it's so fast and so hard to perceive all of this, and it ends up being a mishmash.
Yeah.
Just like shit just being stirred up in all kinds of mechanical ways and being tossed at you.
Yeah, and just thrown against the screen, see what sticks. So don't worry if you miss something, because in a second there'll be something else thrown at you.
It cannot be perceived. Not only is it, if you hadn't seen this in 3D, you see it in 2D, it's still hard on the eyes. It's still a tiring experience. You put it in 3D, and it's actually a super physically tiring experience. But the teenagers sitting to my right did not agree.
Really? He loved it?
Teenagers. I guess there were 6 or 7 of them talking texting during the film, and I actually had to reprimand the kids sitting to my right. I was just...
Didn't they have Transformers mask or something even beforehand? Didn't they were like wearing a Megatron mask or a...
I didn't see that.
Yeah. So they were hardcore fans.
I was sort of suffering some like, oh Christ, these kids think I'm just a jerk. But I said to the kid, you're not doing that right now. Put it away. Turn it off. And this was in the press section.
Yeah, I don't know how they got in there. But the other thing is too that despite all the bells and whistles Bay throws into it, he makes the one mistake of not giving us characters we care for. I don't care about Zawicki or Nitwicki or whatever his name is, Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah, Wickwicki.
Whose performance goes between screaming and crying. He's either screaming in terror because he's getting flung off a building or something, or he's crying because his car, was it Bumblebee? Bumblebee's left him, or his girlfriend's left him, or his parents.
In this case, both.
Yeah.
No Megan Fox in this film because of the debacle wherein apparently she said that Bay was like Hitler, and it enraged Spielberg. And the official Paramount notice was that Bay had dropped the character, and she, just wasn't going to be in the film. But the word going around online is that it pissed off Spielberg, and she was fired.
Well, you can understand how the director of Schindler's List would kind of be upset by that comment.
So she's been replaced by Rosie Huntington-Whiteley. someone who's never had acting experience before. But Bay knew of her, and quite well, because he directed Victoria's Secret commercials in which she starred in.
Oh, okay.
And so she got, I guess she was one of 3 actresses that were sort of in the running for it, but that's how she got cast.
She's awful.
Well,
She is.
not only is she awful, she's incredibly good looking, but Bay also has a message for his critics, which is her establishing shot, which is basically the camera following her ass up the stairs and through Shia LaBeouf's apartment.
Yeah.
Basically just, 20, 30 seconds of just following her ass, almost under it.
It's
And
awful.
that's basically, this is
My
like
favorite
Bay
part of the
saying, this is
movie.
what I'm doing, like it or not.
And it comes at such a bad point because the movie opens with a lot of the high-tech gadgetry as we learn some backstory about what's on the moon, on the dark side of the moon. And it abruptly shifts to her butt walking up the stairs.
Oh, right. The movie
whiplash.
starts with this scene from 1961 where this thing called the Ark crashes on the dark side of the moon. And it's piloted by Sentinel Prime,
Yeah.
who's voiced by Leonard Nimoy. And so this happens on the dark side of the moon. Kennedy decides to investigate with the super secret team. Well, not so super secret in the fact that, okay, Apollo 11 is going to go up and land on the moon, but there's like 20 or something Americans that know the real purpose of the mission is to go get a sample and check out what happened on the dark side of the moon. So the Soviets apparently beat us to it, and they were able to cover these. What are they called? They're like these pillars.
Pillars, yeah.
Pillars that apparently on this ship is some sort of mechanism that will save all of the Decepticons. Ultimately, save them all.
Right. But then I guess it's also a portal. If you put them all together and hit the red button, they become a portal. Little, like they open up a black hole and you can transport
All the. No. I meant save the Autobots.
Right,
You get the Autobots in this stuff. But if you screw this up by pressing the whatever the
big red button.
basically all the Decepticons will have a bridge to Earth, and Earth will be infiltrated and taken over.
all.
And the only person who will be able to live a normal life will be Patrick Dempsey.
Yeah, right. The dreamy.
And then we cut to her ass.
But just the fact, when this is a prime example of what Michael Bay can't do. Yes, he can fill the screen with all the mechanical marvels at his disposal, but he's trying to establish that the whole Decepticon Autobot war took place during the Kennedy administration. So he uses archival footage of John F. Kennedy.
Yeah.
But when the footage doesn't match what he wants to say, he brings in an actor who doesn't really look like Kennedy.
So you get 2 JFKs.
No,
basically.
you get like one JFK and one really bad. It's like watching the worst kind of sketch comedy where this guy comes in and, I'm a Kennedy, and he's not. The shots don't even match. And he does it with Nixon. He does it with any time he needs to rewrite history. He just brings another actor and does it. Yep. The shots do not even match up, and it's. But then I was thinking when I was writing my review, I was like, you know what? The audience for this movie probably couldn't pick John F. Kennedy out of a photo album. They have no recollection of who Kennedy is or care that it doesn't match. It doesn't matter to them.
It's just,
Man,
I've got some reviews for you. Just granted, I thought that this was a tiring experience. I was actually really bummed out because it's just such a filmmaking overload and bombastic. And yeah, there's artistry up there, and I'd love to appreciate it if only Michael Bay didn't cut away like every 5, 6, 7 seconds.
Yeah.
You really don't have opportunities to see Optimus Prime.
No.
In fact, there's a large segment of the film where you're wondering where the hell he is in the midst of all this like machinery battle. So just to do a quick rundown of the story. So Shia LaBeouf's character has graduated from college and he's trying to get a job. He can't get a job. He goes to an interview at this high-powered company that apparently controls the assets to everything on the frigging earth. Anyway, so John Malkovich is the guy interviewing him, his boss, and there's sort of an egotistical standoff there, where in the very moment that he turns down, that Shia LaBeouf turns down the job, he gets the job, and so he's employed in the mailroom. Turns out there's somebody at the company who is a conspiracy theorist, played by Ken Jeong.
Yeah.
Very fun. This is actually the one funny thing happening. Well, there's 2 funny things. I'll grant this movie 2 things. Performance from Alan Tudyk as Malkovich's assistant. Was it Malkovich's assistant? Yeah.
John Turturro's assistant?
Yeah, and Ken Jeong.
See, I'll just disagree because I don't think Ken Jeong's funny. I just find him annoying.
He's sort of possessed.
Yeah, that's all he does. He's got one shtick, and I'm really tired of it.
Oh, Agent Simmons' assistant. I'm sorry.
Right, and that's
Simmons'
John
assistant.
Turturro's
Yeah, John
agent.
Turturro's assistant.
Yeah.
Got that.
He's good. He's
Thanks,
a good
guy.
actor, too. He was in Firefly and Serenity and a bunch of movies.
He was the dude that was mapped for iRobot. He was the iRobot.
Cool.
Yeah. I've kind of always digged Alan Tudyk. So he takes on a funny, weird, strange German accent here.
Yeah,
and
he's done that before too.
He's sort of like the manservant to Simmons. He just gets stuff done, you know. So Jung believes, or Ken Jeong's character believes, he has this information that something did happen on the dark side of the moon. And just after he delivered or imparts this to Shia LaBeouf, he gets killed by one of the mini transforming Decepticons in the office. I think it was like a, I don't know, what was he at the time? A TV screen or a fax machine.
Something.
It was a fax machine. And so anyway, Shia LaBeouf gets his ass back into the Transformers action by I don't know, what does he do? It's a mess.
He basically begs and pleads his way into it. When he gets attacked, after the attack, he goes to
the Chernobyl thing. Yeah.
Right. After the attack of when the guy gets killed in the office, he goes to the Autobots headquarters. Says, the Decepticons are back. And no one believes him, but eventually, he worms his way into their hearts and takes his place. And somehow he's the badass of destroying these two gigantic.
He's like the nobody who's famous. He's the guy who's working in the mailroom that's gotten a medal from Obama at the beginning of the film. So anyway, these pillar things apparently are a source of power, and the Soviets have been stockpiling them. And they tried to extract power from one of these pillars, which had apparently caused the Chernobyl meltdown situation. So, all right. With this is where the relationship thing comes into. Okay, the girl that Shia LaBeouf happens to be interested in, what's her name?
Rosie.
Yeah. Wait a second. Let me hear. I wrote it down here. Yeah, Rosie Huntington-Whiteley happens to be also the chick that McDreamy is interested in,
right.
And so he plays this race car, super wealthy race car collector that's got all the toys. And is kind of what does he do? He gives her a $200,000 Mercedes, BMW or something like that. So this gets Shia LaBeouf sort of on the inside as to what's happening with McDreamy, and McDreamy saying he knows what the Decepticons are doing. And he's going to work out a deal to. So that he can live as they take over the world, and he figures it's an inevitability. He's kind of the strange sort of Lando character, although not as
Lando
Calrissian. Yeah, maybe not the best maybe not the best analogy, but he uses Shia LaBeouf to try and find out how the Autobots are going to, what they're up to.
Right. Right.
So at the same time, he's Shia LaBeouf's backed into the situation where he has to try and get information to McDreamy. He's also informing Optimus Prime of what's going on. So it's sort of this give and take, and it all leads to a big showdown in Chicago where Chicago gets trashed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they put, which leads to, apparently Nest was disbanded in Revenge of the Fallen. Nest is the secret government agency that operates fights with the Autobots. So Josh Duhamel and his gang get back together to take on the Decepticons in Chicago. And it leads to this big, I don't know, buildings falling
but that's the thing. It's
being blown up. It's crazy.
It is the big ending, but the rest of the movie has just been so relentless and big anyway that it's just like it's more of a relief than an exciting battle at the end. It's like, God, it's almost over.
It is more of a relief. It really is.
Finally, it's almost over.
But I think it's also important to know. I mean, if you want to enjoy this film, if you want to put yourself through this, there's so many fucking improbable things that happen. Like, why are they sliding down the side of a building and none of them even gets nicked by glass, as it's apparently raining glass?
Right.
How is it just possible for for his car to be smashed and thrown and rolling, and then they just land on the side of the street somewhere and get up and everything's okay. Or they commandeer, Shia LaBeouf commandeers one of these Decepticon spacecraft
right,
things, and basically they crash it in the middle of Chicago, and he just rolls over, gets up, everything fine.
How do they not get shot?
Or they're jumping, they're 100 stories in the air, and he's like balancing on the gun turret of one of these ships, and he jumps from the gun turret to the ledge, and she does too.
In heels.
The whole fucking thing in heels.
High heels.
I mean,
high, big fucking
going down
bumps.
all these pathways and rafters and sliding down floors and jumping through windows, all in heels.
But it never elevates to that cartoony kind of violence that lets you accept this kind of behavior.
Well, the thing is that I think this is entirely imagined as, let's say you're a child, you're playing with your Autobots characters, your Transformers, and this is a game that you play out.
Yeah.
And all the crazy stuff that happens with your action figures. These people are basically action figures. They can bounce. From
they're
wall
not
to
jumping
wall,
off a 100-foot building where they're jumping off the arm of the couch onto the living room floor rug, and you're going boom, smash.
Yeah, it's visually entertaining, but just
to a point, yeah.
Physics, just forget it.
And the thing is, something that I think Bay's pretty guilty of is there's a strong strain, and I had to look this word up, of jingoism in his movies. Mm-hmm. It's all rah-rah America, we're going to conquer the world. Because when we first get there, we're shown that when we're friendly with the Autobots, what are we using for? Stealth operations in the Middle East.
Yeah.
And then at the end when...
well, we do have the Autobots, the Transformers do have an agreement with the United States. They work with the United
not
States.
The world. It's with us. And there's also the thing, but when Optimus Prime is finally, going to kick ass, or I think it's maybe after he kicks ass, he's standing there like with the American flag behind him.
Right, and it all happens in about
these colors don't run.
Less than 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Less than 20 seconds. There was this cheer that came up from the audience in the middle of the screening, Optimus Prime's going to kick ass, and it all happens in 20 seconds.
Well, that's the other
2-hour
thing,
movie.
Too, where I think the
2.5-hour movie.
I think even though all the critics seem to dislike this, or at least all the reputable critics.
But the fanboys are freaking digging it.
This gets delivered to the fans on a silver platter, and they don't give a fuck what we think. They don't care if it's not a good movie. They just...
I'm pulling this quote out. Alex Billington on Facebook, he's the editor of FirstShowing.net. He says, just saw Transformers Dark Side of the Moon tonight, and holy, HOLY in capital, crap, was it mind-blowing. Visual effects and 3D, especially in this, are up to a level of Avatar. Seamless work, some amazing stuff I've never seen before, and 2.5 freaking hours of it! ! Goddamn, M. Bay, you make some seriously entertaining movies.
Wow.
I responded.
What's he
I
write
responded
for?
to. He edits FirstShowing.net.
Is that really the site?
It's not an empty shell of a movie, he writes. The story is fine. It's about the Autobots and the Decepticons, and yes, Sam Witwicky has another love life storyline, but come on, this is about how to make kick-ass effects around the basic story, and they do that! ! Vastly better than Revenge of the Fallen, even better than the first one. That's what he said.
Sounds like a studio flack.
I said you can delete my comment if you want, but it's visually entertaining until it's an indiscernible CGI mess without a comparable visual tempo to Avatar. So much nonsense, and there are moments in the film that are out and out laughable. The critics were laughing at the end of the film.
Yeah, well, laughing and looking for the exit. And here's the thing where even in the first two, Megan Fox wasn't given much to do but look pretty, but she ran around, she could shoot a gun, and she's got a screen presence that's sexy. This Rosie woman, she's attractive, but she's cold. There's no personality there, at least not for me.
She didn't get cast that way.
No.
She's basically from the Victoria's Secret commercial to this.
Yeah.
It's insulting. I mean, this movie is actually, if it's insulting to women.
Oh, God. I went with my friend Magali, who's from Puerto Rico, and afterwards she goes, how come the only Puerto Rican is in this movie is someone dressed up like a hoochie mama, and all they do is call her a hoochie mama, and that's it. I was like, I don't know. She goes, well, my people aren't going to like this. I'm like, well, self-respecting Puerto Ricans won't, but, you know, kids won't care.
Another film critic, Kim Voyner on Facebook, said that Frances McDormand and John Malkovich are in this movie. They've got some splaining to do. What the hell?
Paycheck. I hope it's just a paycheck.
Yeah, you know, baby needs a new pair of shoes.
Mm-hmm.
It's
John Turturro. He's been in 3 of them now. He's part of the franchise.
Yeah, you know, John Turturro's got to get back to some real acting, not some.
The thing I hope
he's been goofballing it.
The thing I hope about Turturro is that when he does something like this, or he does Mr. Deeds, or he does some
Don't
bad,
mess with the Zohan.
Yeah. That I think he uses some of that money and he makes his movies. The musical he did with Gandolfini.
Yeah, you got me on
something in Cigarettes. But he did a musical, and he does little small personal.
Yeah, you know, I know what you're talking about. I don't recall the name.
I give him a little street cred for just, you know, I hope he takes his money and he goes off and makes his own movies because he was in 3 Transformers. But you know, he's just chewing the scenery. I liked Malkovich. I thought he was funny, but it wasn't acting per se. It was acting out.
Well, what Bay is really good at doing is he can take what we, you know, how we perceive an actor. You know, they have
and
their
ruin
presence. Not ruin it. Just that he makes characters quickly accessible. Like we're supposed to automatically identify with them immediately, like in a second. So he builds his characters on these little, quick, like 5-second things. Like we automatically get what Shia LaBeouf's character's life is like. We already get the whole thing of his parents. You know, the relationship with his parents.
Yeah.
We already get all these little dissatisfaction things, you know. And then, you know, when we meet Malkovich, you know, we quickly get what he's all about. You know, just about being a straight up, super ornery boss. You know, that doesn't like anything out of place. It makes for a funny moment, but really it's about speed. Yeah. And this movie is all about speed.
And in 2.5 hours. You know, if you stretch this out to normal time, if you weren't playing it, you know, like when you hit the fast forward on the remote and it goes 1x, 2x, 3x.
Yeah.
This movie's played in like 1.5x. It's moving too fast. You can get images of what's going on.
Yeah.
But if you slow it down to normal play, just hit play instead of fast forward, it would also be a 6-hour movie, but it would play out a little easier.
With all they did on screen, I don't think I was at once awed by any of it. I thought it was super cool, some of the stuff, and you know, some amazing sound designs. There actually gets kind of grating. But, like, for example, in X-Men First Class, I was in awe. When that friggin' submarine came out of the water and was levitating, I was like, damn, man, that was, you know, it was cool. It was like, wow. You know, and it was done slowly. They're not just like throwing crap at you.
Yeah.
So in one scene in X-Men that just had me like in awe, didn't experience that in any of the 2.5 hours of.
And even then, I think I was trying to figure this out because I have almost no recollection of the first 2 Transformer movies.
It's a mechanical mess.
I remember Megan Fox changing the oil in her car or something, but that was about the only image I had.
Well, he just wanted to. Bay tops that with this. He takes the scene longer. And it's just about covering her butt.
Yeah. But the thing in this one, it was almost, I don't know, was it more graphic this time? Because a lot of times when a Decepticon or an Autobot got punched or shot, there was oil.
Yeah, they used
blood.
oil as blood. There's some gutting of the Decepticons.
Yeah, and humans get vaporized in this one. I don't remember seeing that before.
Well, I think what's supposed to really charge the audience, what got a reaction out of the kids that were there was, you know, the kill of one of the Decepticons, how it's done. It's, you know, the decapitation of the Decepticons, and then everybody would go, yeah, whatever, you know. Just cacophonous, and I think it's time to move on.
Yeah, but you know, people are going to feel passionately about this one either way, and I really want them to start a dialogue on our site about it, and we will respond to everything you say. So, Steve, what are the contacts again for people to talk to us about?
They can send us an email at contact@post-movie.net or leave a message on Facebook. We'll definitely get back to you.
And I can be reached in my home number. No, just kidding. I don't want to.
You know what this and Larry Crown have in common?
We both saw him.
Original crew Star Trek.
A what?
Original crew Star Trek. We've got George Takei playing Professor Matsusui.
Right.
And then we've got Leonard Nimoy voicing Sentinel Prime.
I didn't even know that until like 2 days after the movie. Someone told me.
It was Nimoy?
Yeah.
I think the face of the robot was even animated a little like him. I knew it was Nimoy. You knew?
Yeah.
I mean,
I didn't recognize the voice at all. Old Nimoy. I didn't get it. But yeah, we're spending too much time on Optimus and his boys.
Yeah, it's
so we'll
too
be
much
back
time
for
on the
Transformers
screen.
4, and there will be a 4. If you know it.
Don't be like anybody listening to this. Just don't be phased by any of the frigging, crazy publicity on it. They flew all the press out to Moscow. They got the full junket treatment, and everything is supposed to be hunky dory awesome. But it's like. It's like what they did with Couples Retreat, a year or so ago. They flew everybody to like Fiji, and just because they fly you to Fiji, maybe they'll get the whole gist of saying something nice about the film. But the major sites out there, they gotta, they gotta review this movie, and they gotta be real. Well, and hopefully the person that they choose to review this was not the person that went on the press junket to Moscow.
A lot of that's TV, and all they're going to get is their 2 minutes talking to Shire in Moscow, and they're not going to review it. There's so few actual reviewers
it's
on
where the
national
spectacle
TV.
is so much more powerful than the actual quality of the film.
Well, I was talking to Jim Vernier, who's with the Boston Herald, last night, and he said, what the saying is, the bigger the junket, the badder the movie.
Something there.
So, enjoy Moscow, fellas. But now on to bigger, well, not bigger, but better things.
Larry Crowne. You said after the screening last night, and I totally agree, it was like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah. You can nitpick on what works and what doesn't in this movie, but the overall effect I thought was delightful because it was a mature romantic comedy. And that seems like an oxymoron because most romantic comedies are about, people in their 20s nowadays, or they're people, they're...
Oh, what have we seen? I mean, like, No Strings Attached?
Yeah, that's...
Hall Pass?
The 20-somethings are all about sex with no strings. And this is this movie is romantic, and there are 2 kisses in the whole thing.
And Transformers Dark Side of the Moon shows you how necessary Larry Crowne is.
Yeah.
That there's actual maturity in filmmaking. That film doesn't belong to the 18 to whatever, 35 now. I mean, it does not. It felt good.
And there's characters, and there's relationships, and there's good dialogue, and an interesting story, and most of the comedy comes from performance and character, not from
It's a terrific character piece. And who'd have thought that Tom Hanks could come back with a romantic comedy? Sleepless in Seattle.
Yeah.
You've Got Mail. And then, 15 years later, he comes back with another one. I think, he's in his late 50s. And it's all plausible.
Yeah.
And Julia Roberts looks good. Not tired and drawn out and gaunt like she did in Eat, Pray, Love, where she's sort of like pissed at the world. And
even though
just...
And she gives a good performance because even though her character is kind of I don't want to say bitch, but she's a tough woman.
Well, it's like she goes from the Eat, Pray, Love character into someone likable.
Right. But the transformation at the end, when she falls in, and when she lets her guard down and falls for Larry Crowne, works. You can see a transformation in her performance that is very believable.
Yeah.
As much as to see Hanks go from when the film opens, I love the part that when the film opens, he's the go-getter employee at this U-Mart, so like a Walmart.
He's living his dream job.
Yeah.
He's so happy. He's putting the vases on the shelf, making sure everything's straight,
making sure everyone's having fun at their job.
They're wearing their back braces, throwing boxes back and forth.
The
everything,
ride.
no big whoop. The guy is just happily living in doing his life.
Yeah, so this is a story of a guy who's, we find out he's recently divorced, and he's still pretty tender about that, both emotionally and, his reality. He doesn't have a lot of money now or anything, but he's at work one day, he gets called into the employee break room. He thinks he's going to get his Employee of the Month, his 9th Employee of the Month award, and instead he gets laid off because he doesn't have the education that will put him on a track for corporate advancement, even though the people who do have education are idiots.
That's a big hurt. Unfortunately, the trailer spoils that. I don't think we'd seen the trailer, so that was we were cold watching this, and that really worked. So
he goes.
Unfortunately, the trailer.
He's forced to reassess his life, and he hangs out with his neighbor Cedric the Entertainer, who I thought was just
he lives across the street, and every day is a yard sale.
Yeah, because he won a bunch of money on a game show. So
Yeah. What was it, like $500,000 on
his
Spin the Wheel?
who is, what is her name? Tashi.
Yeah. I don't recall.
She's one of my faves. Anyway, so he's at
Taraji Henson.
Yes, she's
Is that
at.
how you pronounce her name?
Taraji Henson.
Yeah.
She was in Curious Case of Benjamin Button, and she's been in a lot of other stuff. So anyway, one day Hanks, after he gets fired, he's at the yard sale. He finds an old college catalog and decides to go back to school. And he meets a administrator who tells him, take speech 217, it'll change your life. It's basically public speaking.
Uh-huh.
And he ends up taking the course. Julia Roberts teaches it. And
she's like a poetry teacher or something like that. She
also has she teaches like Shakespeare as a politician. She teaches other courses, but this is her 8 a.m. class is speech 217.
And her name, Mercedes Tainot.
Not
spelled
Tainot.
Right, spelled Tainot, not Tainot.
Not
so naturally,
typo.
her students end up calling her Tainot.
So Hanks takes a class. He meets and he takes an economics class taught by Mr. Sulu.
Yeah.
And he's in the third class, but we never really see him at the third class.
Sulu's actually pretty funny in this.
Well,
Mr. Matsusani, I wrote the course book. You follow the course book, and you will rule the world.
Most people.
This is where you should be laughing.
Yeah, this is where you should be laughing.
And he also makes the minor story about do not fucking text in class.
Yep.
I mean, if you don't fucking text during a movie, don't fucking text during the fucking class, man.
But if
only you could just like grab their cell phone and throw it.
That'd be cool. So Hank starts taking the classes. He meets some other students. But the turning point for him is he's got an SUV. He's got a huge SUV, and he's at the gas pump one day putting gas in, and it's ringing up to like $70. This guy just lost his job. He doesn't want to go on unemployment because he's too proud.
Yeah.
But he's filling up this monster of a car with $70 worth of gas, and two guys pull up in the pump across from him on scooters. And they fill the tanks for $1.25 and then take off. And Hanks says,
well, technically it was $3.75.
Well, okay, $3.75. So then,
but he's like, nickel of gas gets you back and forth from school to the house.
So he goes. Cedric the entertainer just happens to have a scooter in his yard sale. He buys it, and soon he's involved with the scooter crowd. And he meets a girl there who reinvents him. Sort of. She gives him she gets him a good haircut. Teaches him to dress so he doesn't look like a retired cop.
That was part of the thing that I thought was implausible. But I guess her character, Talia, is friendly to everybody. She's kind of his gateway to coolness. The actress who plays her, I had never seen her before. Her name is Gugu Mataba Rao. I'd never.
I don't know. You'd think you'd remember that name if you had.
Yeah, well, apparently she was on Doctor Who back in a couple of years ago.
And boy, does the camera love her.
Resume. Oh, she was beautiful. And she's on this TV show called Undercovers. I don't recall if it's domestic or BBC. She's English, actually.
Really?
Surprisingly, yeah. But I thought that this was probably the one part of the movie that was implausible because I'd like, are you really going to get like a early 20s girl is going to automatically befriend a guy, in his late 50s? It seemed like, yeah, it can happen, but she was such a, as they say in the movie, free spirit.
Yeah. But I went with it.
There's an interesting dynamic going on there, though. In her group of their inner scooter gang. And they play it cool. I mean, they're harmless. They're like juice drinking scooter gang.
There's a shot when they drive down the street and they pass a biker bar, and they're like all the Hell's Angels types are just waving at them like, "Hey, scooters are cool."
That was like the.
That was funny. It was just
another implausible moment. But Wilmer Valderrama plays her boyfriend, who puts his, tightens the grip on any relationship possibilities that may be perceived between her and Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
So it's funny how he's actually good. He keeping an eye on her. So anyway, the scooter gang comes over to Larry's house and cleans out everything. They do the feng shui, which he is taught, and it makes his life easier. He didn't know that there was like walk flow, space flow, energy. They basically just come into his house, clean up his life, tell him how to dress, give him a haircut, and he's on his road to cool.
And some of it doesn't work, like when he wears a scarf. like the European style scarf, and everyone's making fun of him. You know, you don't see the scarf again.
What was that about?
It was just
a fashion mistake.
It's kind of like you know, the girl kind of takes him on as a project, but he's almost like she's into fashion. She's going to open a second-hand store.
Yeah,
and so she's you know, he's like a mannequin for him. She's dressing him up. Right. I like the fact that it isn't a romantic thing between them. It's more of a father-daughter thing.
Yeah, there is that. You know, and at the same time, Julia Roberts' life is imploding, courtesy of Bryan Cranston at home. The ever-earnest blogger with a porn addiction.
I'm a guy doing I'm a guy.
I do guy things.
Yeah, I'm a guy being a guy doing guy things.
Right.
Which includes staying at home watching porn because he likes big boobs.
And she calls him out on it. Like, during, you know,
they just have this home.
She's reached a point in their relationship where she just can't fathom the fact that she's actually married to this guy. Apparently, at some point, he had some success. He wrote 2 books, but now he's all
blogger.
You know, he's the blogger. He's like making.
I put up like 4 posts today.
4 posts today on different subjects.
That's not writing. That's comments.
So. It doesn't. For some of us that actually try to make a living doing the blogger stuff, it does not make you. I think basically the whole concept of his character in the fact that he's at home blogging, you know, it's not respectable in terms of a film character's background. Disreputable.
Right.
You know, she doesn't trust him. You know, and it's goofy. I think, you know, he's under the delusion that he's actually really going to make a great living off of it.
Yeah.
So that's scary.
But so they both have their own little stories, and it brings them together in some predictable but interesting
Well, it comes
ways.
down to basically one car ride. Tom Hanks' life is being rebuilt. Hers is falling apart.
Right.
Bryan Cranston and
Julia Roberts
are on their way to dinner. He's more worried about the cheesecake sitting on the on the dashboard of the car than some issues in their relationship.
And she's drunk.
Right, yeah. Well, he says some things to her that are basically unforgivable.
I like big boobs and you don't have them.
Right, and she's like, that's it, let me out, relationship over. The rebuild for her starts when maybe a half hour later, Tom Hanks is scooting down the street with the young girl, and they're like, we need to make a U-turn here, because they see her sitting over at the bus station waiting for the bus, and he offers her a ride. And on the way home, they see that Cranston's character has been pulled over by the cops. So she's going to have some time by herself.
You smell nice. My husband's not going to be back for 3 to 5 years.
The wall of Julia Roberts' character, the wall of Tano, has been broken down. Her life has finally come apart. And she tried to keep things together. But when they get back to the house, you know, they share a moment, and then... You know, you see that Larry Clown's... Yeah, he did. Yeah, you know, Tao of Steve. You know, if to be with the girl has to see you do something awesome, and she got to see Hanks has said Larry's something awesome is being real and truthful and kindly. Yeah, and being a goofy guy, but not, you know, in the Bryan Cranston way.
Right.
In this film, you know, she saw him as a all around, you know, a real trustworthy guy.
Yeah,
and that's Larry.
And she doesn't trust guys at this point in her life, and the fact that
she says that
he doesn't take advantage of the fact that she's drunk and invites him in, and then does a goofy Tom Hanks dance because he's psyched, you know.
Yeah.
But then he does the respectful thing. He doesn't talk about it the next day. He doesn't tell anyone about what happened between him and his teacher or him and that woman.
Yeah, as a high school kid might.
When she finds out that he's actually kept that private, she's impressed.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what finally wins her over, is that, you know, here's a guy she can actually trust.
You know, I think the subject of her class, which is public speaking, is all about them coming out as better people. Each of the characters in the class, there's like one, Steve DiBiase.
Yeah.
Funny performance by the actor, oh God, what's his name? He was in The Pacific, Rami Malek. Anyway, I think people really enjoy his character. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, there's a couple of characters in the classroom that do some really funny... Yeah, I was just thinking of that, and I couldn't think of his name. Oh, I couldn't think of his name.
They all have little moments.
Yeah, there's little moments.
That,
if only I was a computer and I could recall people's names, but that doesn't happen.
And the thing is, we talk about his performance and stuff, but Hanks is behind the camera in this one too, and he co-wrote it with Nia Vardalos from My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Right.
But he's a good director. He keeps things flowing nicely. He gives everyone enough time to make, the characters work. It's not all about him. It's not all about Julie Roberts. All the surrounding characters get enough time to make their presence felt.
And that's what's so wonderful about it is they've taken the time to build these characters.
Yeah.
And it's a comfortably paced film, not boring.
Nope.
This is the complete opposite of Transformers, where everything is just gunshot at you. But here you really get to, connect with the characters.
And there's a reality to all this too, where when Larry Crown gets a job as a short order cook. He was a cook in the Navy for 20 years, but he doesn't want to do this anymore.
Right. That's actually a huge point, that he decided to not go to college after high school. He decided to go into the Navy.
Right.
But the other side is that he got to see all kinds of places all around the world. Amazing. He has this accumulated experience that's invaluable, that maybe 3 years, 4 years of college wasn't going to get you.
Right. And so when because it shows him like going and getting a job to be a cook at the restaurant through a buddy of his he knew in the Navy.
Right.
And
by the way, one of the guys sitting at the table there is Biff Henderson. I noticed his name after the film. David Letterman's stage manager, Biff. So
really?
They did a thing on Letterman last night where Biff came on, did an interview, and they showed some behind-the-scenes stuff with him and Tom Hanks. And they showed the scene that he was actually filming.
Uh-huh.
But the joke was, and I think there's actually some truth to it, that it was bad, and Hanks had to cut it out. Uh-huh. And then Biff's, I think, like, well, why'd you cut me out of the movie? Because it wasn't good. I mean, you actually have to do something good. So they show Biff, they show the scene where the camera's panning through across the bar and do a stop action with an arrow pointing to Biff's head. As what was left in the movie. I'm sorry I interrupted.
No, that's fine. But it's just the whole reality that, and even though, Hanks plays a character who loses his job and is in dire straits emotionally and financially and all this other stuff, there's never a pity moment in this movie. You never feel
he picks it up really quickly
for Larry Crown. Yeah.
And his pride isn't so huge. I mean, he's taking these jobs that are real. He's looking for these real working class, job things, and he's happy.
Right. I mean, just
it's
the fact that when his neighbor goes, "You're going on unemployment," he goes, "I don't want to." He doesn't want to get unemployment. He's of that he's got that work ethic, and he's of that generation where unemployment's for people, for people who really need it. I can go get a job.
I was unemployed recently. I didn't want to do it. Man, I have to say, so we're sitting in Boston Common, and there is an anime gathering of, I don't know, there must be like 50-something people over there dressed in anime costumes, and they're doing some kind of event, and that's where the cheering's coming from.
And I have to admit,
there's some Japanese high school students over there. And there's some parasols.
And some very cool outfits on the young ladies. And I have to admit, sitting here, I look over and I can identify half of the shows they're on.
Really?
Or they're from.
What the girl in the green thing with the hat? Does that, or the parasol?
The parasol and the maid outfit could be anyone, but there was a girl in like a very shapely girl with a bare midriff who's from she's a gunslinger in one of the animes I watch.
The blue-headed girl?
They're all blue-headed, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of blue hair.
No one just occasionally, I can't really think of names. I go, I watched that anime.
There's a turquoise, long-haired, blue-haired girl, and there's like a blonde-haired mohawk with an orange shirt. Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
All right, Larry Crown.
So Larry Crown. Anyway, so I just like the fact that it didn't play pity party. It had strong characters, very entertaining, very light but meaningful story.
I do very much recommend it.
And at the end of it all, when I was watching the credits of who was in it, it had
say it. Pam Grier.
Pam Grier. Yeah.
Foxy Brown.
And she doesn't have a big part in it, but it doesn't matter.
It's subdued.
She's there.
She's amusing. She's one of the students in.
She's a teacher. No, she's one of the teachers.
She's one of the teachers. Oh, she's the other teacher. Oh, shit. All right. I got that mixed up. The other girl. Yeah. And, she's the teacher that basically teaches her about like why in the world did you set up a class at 8 in the morning?
Yeah.
And the whole deal was because if less than 10 students show up, you can cancel it.
Yeah.
And it's you
And
get
she walks in counting the students,
right.
just waiting to cancel it. Anyway, yeah.
Foxy Brown.
Yeah.
Scream Blackula Scream.
Coffee.
Black Mama, White Mama.
Yeah. We could do a whole show on just
Actually,
for-
she was in Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, too.
Really?
I think, yeah, a long time ago. But she also did a mid-'80s film called The Vindicator, I think.
I actually read her biography, her autobiography.
Huh.
It's awesome. Yeah. She was, she dated...
We were like staring up into space thinking about Pam Grier. Oh, man.
To all the younger fans out there, if you're not familiar with Pam Grier, stop listening now. Put it on pause.
Sheba, baby.
Go to your DVD, Netflix queue, go to wherever you get DVDs from, type in Pam Grier, start at the beginning, and work your way through her catalog of movies.
And then go see Larry Crumb.
Yeah.
Good film.
Yeah.
Good film. Well done, Tom Hanks. God damn you. So we move on picks of the week.
Yes.
John, what do you have?
I have this movie called White Lightning, directed by Dominic Murphy and starring Edward Hogg, who was in a movie called Brothers of the Head.
Oh, yeah.
This is a guy named Jesco White, and it's based on a true story, I guess. He's in the mountains of Virginia. His daddy was a mountain dancer, which means he put a board down and guy would tap dance to bluegrass and country music and rock and roll. And so Jesco grows up. He's huffing gas by the time he's 10, and he's in and out of reform schools, and it's a brutal life. But when his daddy dies, his daddy leaves him his shoes, and he becomes a mountain dancer too. But he's still huffing gas, and he's a drug addict and mentally imbalanced.
And who does Carrie Fisher play?
Carrie Fisher plays this woman he meets on the road. Meets at a show, goes home with her, and I never thought I'd see Carrie Fisher, riding some guy in a suburban living room, but they're having sex when her husband comes home.
Good Lord.
And she's like, no,
But she hasn't... she used to be hot.
Yeah.
But,
she hasn't aged well.
No.
But it fits the character in this movie. Anyway, it's brutal, it's weird, it's heartfelt, it's deeply disturbing, and I highly recommend it.
I'll have to check it out.
Really,
it's on DVD, but isn't it on
it might
video
be on
demand?
Yeah, it's a Sundance movie that just came out this week. But yeah, it's definitely unlike anything I've seen in a long time, and I was really impressed.
I don't understand why. It's sometimes you hear that an actor is in a certain film, and it just does not. It's just so outside the realm of how you perceive them. That Carrie Fisher is in this movie, but
she's good. She's good. There's no denying that. So, anyway, what have you got?
Kiss Me Deadly, new on Criterion. I think it came out a week or so ago. Robert Aldrich's 1955 noir classic, which I hadn't seen for something like 20 years, and it took some remembering for me, but I finished watching it last night, and it's a kick, man. I just love the whole nuclear plot. The fact that they're looking for
Now we mean nuclear as in bomb, not nuclear like family.
It's a bomb,
it's a bomb,
or whatever's in the box, Pandora's box, or the what's it,
the MacGuffin in the box.
Yeah, and just it's so atmospheric, and Mike Hammer is a kick in the pants. I particularly like one of the actresses whose name I can't. That is an anime scream coming from over there. There's some sort of event where somebody's doing a performance.
We're next. We're up next.
Well, anyway, that
had a young Cloris Leachman in it.
A young Cloris Leachman at the beginning, terrific. Anyway, the way it ends is just, it's insane. It's not like. No, it is blow you out of the water.
Yeah.
It's like, it's basically a power struggle where everybody's trying to screw each other over just to get to what's in this box, and everybody thinks that they can use it to their own advantage. And there's this one femme fatale who angles to get it, and she gets it.
She gets it, yeah, big time.
Yeah, it's great
Who
stuff.
played Mike Hammer? in the movie?
Oh God!
Because it's funny. A lot of the Mike Hammers.
Ralph Meeker.
A lot of the Mike Hammers we've seen over the years, whether it's on the TV series or in movies.
Right.
He's the hard-nosed, tough-talking, smart
he's good.
guy.
He's good. He's sadistic, man.
Yeah, he's not that smart in this movie. He's a tough guy, but he's sadistic.
He's a brick. He just walks in and hammers people or breaks their stuff. And
he's not clever, but he gets the job done. Yeah, there's some weird torture scenes. What year was this? 1950?
55.
Yeah, it was pretty intense for back then.
The actress that stuck out for me was Gabby Rogers, who plays the Carver, or Gabrielle. She turns out to be the Gabrielle, or
Gabrielle Worth.
Yeah, the femme fatale of the film.
Yeah,
and it's not great acting.
No,
in the B movie level that this is, it's amusing. And the atmosphere in mid 50s LA.
So much atmosphere in this movie.
It's a kick.
And again, the ending is just pretty phenomenal with what happens as far as don't spoil it, and even as far as for quote unquote special effects. I mean, it is 54 years ago or 56 years ago. But it's still cool to see.
Yeah, just the simple effect of when the box opens and the light and the sound. And Criterion did it right.
Yeah.
I mean, I like that they have the two guys that do the commentary are a couple of noir film experts. I haven't listened to the whole commentary, but it was, they made some really, really good points about why the movie was even more scary in the 50s, particularly when you had women trying to angle to get power. Mm-hmm. It was just disconcerting. It's a good film. It's a good film. I do very much recommend it. And
should that be the cheer that ends the show, Steve?
That's good.
Yeah.
That should do it. So I think I think we're done.
Live from the park.
Live from the park and the some sort of anime festival. Hey, dog. Big giant dog just came up and nearly licked the mic. Nice.
He's our guest. We'll interview him.
So, hey, all of our shows are online. We're at post-movie.net. You can check them out there. You can also fan us on Facebook. We post pretty frequently on there. Yep. All the episodes and whatnot. And subscribe to us on iTunes. And if you leave us a review, we'd be really grateful. That'd be awesome. All of our episodes are on iTunes. If you have any questions, send us an email. We're at contact@post-movie.net. So until next week, I'm Steve Head.
I'm John Black.
So long, everyone.